Hello everyone, today I'm going to be watching the Russian state spend $10 million to make the worst RPG of 2014. Now, this is from a warlock named Racy. But I... What? 3, 2, 1, go.
Boris, we have a problem. Foreign megacorporations like the Polish CD Projekt Red, the creators of the Witcher games, and the Czech Warhorse Studios are corrupting our children's minds.
Oh, Kingdom Come Deliverance, bro. That game is top. Please support the devs of that team. They're good people.
They are promoting liberalist agenda and probably Russophobia as well. Well, not on my watch.
Russophobia?
All that is necessary for evil to
There is no Russophobia. It's Red Scare. And if people
succeed is for good men to do nothing. I am putting together a team. Siberia Nova, a game developer from the town of Uyar, Russia, never actually made a video game, but at least one of their employees worked on the 1998 CRPG classic Rage of Mages. That's good enough for me. The plot of our anti-Russophobic game will be based on the book Yuri Miroslavsky or Russians in 1612. Authored by Mikhail Zagorskin, the book is described as Russia's first historical novel of the Walter Scott type. It was first published around 200 years ago.
Where are we going? I assume this is about the grenade they were...
Russia's first historical novel of the Walter Scott type. It was first published around 200 years ago. The hero of the novel and of the game, the titular Yuri Miroslavsky, is a boyar, a member of feudal nobility.
Wait, this is not Kingdom Come Deliverance?
Zagorskin was criticized for not being a trained historian, so we need a proper historical consultant on our team. Enter Timofey Shevyakov, former editor-in-chief of the anti-NATO news agency and the author of the book Chronicles of the Information War. Shevyakov is associated with the pro-government hacker group Hell's Brigade, famous for feuding with the Russian opposition figure.
Okay, this is all real or is just gaslighting me? Because I don't know if this is real. I couldn't read the text on that wiki paper.
Alexei Navalny. So who is Hell the hacker? Let's see. According to prosecution witnesses, listed as unemployed in Germany, eventually getting a job in technical support, fired for watching porn at work. The brilliant hacker managed to infect the office network with porn site viruses. Everything about this is perfect. We have our team, and we have a story. But video game production ain't free, so we need funding. The purpose of the Internet Development Institute is to funnel government rubles into online projects. Alexei Gorislavsky, the person in charge, said that the gaming projects the institute supports could potentially replace imported foreign analogs within 3 to 5 years. It doesn't seem Gorislavsky knows much about video game production.
No, he doesn't.
Bad news for the taxpayers, good news for us. The budget of our game, Smuta, or Troubles, is estimated to be around $5 million by some sources, $10 million by others. So what does this buy you in Uyar, Siberia? 75 developers on staff and 50 temporary contractors working remotely. Quick Googling tells me that the budget of the Polish Russophobia game...
Bro, if it's gonna be a game in Russia, or at least about Russian culture or whatever, SAR or that's all, you didn't need contractors. That's right. You just need more devs and more voice actors and better art designers. And maybe a few
75 developers on
social
staff
media managers.
And 50 temporary contractors working remotely. Quick Googling tells me that the budget of the Polish Russophobia game Witcher 3 was $81 million. And
Why
as
is
you can see, despite the weight
Russophobia?
class difference, Smuta borrows heavily from the Polish franchise, or at least it tries. And as you can see, despite the weight class difference, Smuta borrows...
That's actually very well done. That spear use, when the enemy actually moves about, that's actually very well done. But I don't
heavily from the Polish franchise.
If they need to make the hitbox of the spear slightly bigger, so it doesn't even when it hits the face of that enemy, it doesn't go through it. It doesn't clip through it.
And as you can see, despite the weight class difference, Smuta borrows heavily.
You see,
from the Polish
why am I explaining
franchise,
this? Fuck
or
this.
at least it tries to. The Line Media says that the game is designed to be an instrument of Russian soft power, but this is not even available in foreign languages yet. You
Then what's the
probably
point,
can't
then?
play this, but that's what I'm here for.
But what if I knew some Russian? Can I play it? Oh my god, why?
This video is dedicated to Oleg Bilibin, the director of Siberia Nova, cowardly killed by the neo-Nazis
What
of the
happened?
illegal Belaozersk volunteer battalion under orders from their CIA handlers. And
I
yet,
don't know what is satire, what is funny joke, and what is a story of the game that he's talking. Why is he behind him, that bald dude?
The liberal establishment prefers to remain silent
What the
about
fuck
it,
is
once
going on?
again, showing the hypocrisy of the West. Bilibin might be gone, but the great work continues.
Старые люди говорили,
Old-timers say that never before it has been as bad on our land as during the troubled times. The old Tsar died. There was a bad harvest. Poles and Cossacks invade.
Yep.
Boyars feud with one another. Out of desperation, the nobles in
Not only that, then there's just more shit's gonna come, bro. But Russians lost so many people in World War II. So many people. It's just insane. And it just...
Out of desperation, the nobles in Moscow invited the Polish Prince Vladislav to rule over them and restore order. This is year 7 of the Troubles.
7.
In the game's opening, our hero Yuri, who at this stage is working for the pro-Polish faction, rescues his future best friend, the free Cossack Kirsha, from wild animals. The game uses loading screens to feed you historical trivia, usually relevant to whatever is happening in the level. This
That's
is how we
lovely.
know that the Tsardom of Muscovy had no roads, that the depths of the ancient forests were still unexplored, and that animal attacks really were a huge problem. Now, I'm not a trained
assume,
historian,
yeah,
but I've been to
Russia,
quite a few Russian
Alaska,
museums,
Canada,
and
there's
these
some
interiors
weird
look authentic to
animals
me.
moving about.
Unfortunately, none of the objects here are interactive. You can't even sit on a bench.
What?
Kirsha wants us to do a sword
That's lame.
fighting tutorial. There are light attacks, power attacks, you can block and dodge. I won every single battle in this game by spamming left click and occasionally using the one cooldown based ability Yuri has.
Makes sense.
This is
That's
a linear
usually
game,
how easy
a bunch of
works
levels
in
that
games.
need to be completed in a sequence. The next place we'll visit is our former home, a settlement governed by the Boyar Kruchina. And this is the
Kruchina?
RPG system. You
Oh,
gain
shit,
levels
what the
and
fuck?
unlock these slots, and then you
Everything
put
is
collectible
Russian.
items
Oh
into
my
the
God,
slots for
I can't.
minor bonuses. It's a strange
One should learn Russian because this game looks decent. I don't know about the story and how good it is further down the line, but
by the Boyar
it
Kruchina.
looks good.
And this is the RPG system. You gain levels and unlock these slots, and then you put collectible items into the slots for minor bonuses. It's a strangely gamey system for a project with a
Artifact
historical
system.
theme. Sneaking
can't
is a
be their
mechanic.
armor,
There is a side quest where we eavesdrop on the local holops.
тише, тише.
A holop is
How
a
the
non-
fuck?
Sneaking is a mechanic. There is a
bro, that face looks so
side
good.
quest
What the
where
fuck?
we
How did they make
eavesdrop on
this?
the local holops.
When is this game? When is this game came out?
Тише,
What
тише.
the
A
fuck?
holop is
I
a
never
non-free
played this.
citizen,
Don't know
property of a
about it at
boyar,
all.
a tier below serf. Kirsha is not a holop, and neither is Yuri. Our boss Kruchina sends us on an important mission. Many Muscovite nobles swore fealty to the Pole Vladislav, but some individuals, like Prince Pozharsky from Nizhny Novgorod, simply refuse to calm down. They are building an army. Our task is to travel to Novgorod,
Oh my God, why are we so
infiltrate
wide?
Pozharsky's militia, and find out what they're up to. This is
Some dude.
beautiful.
Yeah, that
Someone
is
should
almost
make an
Persian.
RPG in this setting. So
This
it
is
turns
very
out it's
beautiful.
impossible to create a AAA game on a budget this
That's
small.
often
The
case.
developers had to cut corners. This huge-ass city has a total of 4 interactive objects. The
Lovely.
drinking pots. You drink water to replenish
No
it
way.
as a total.
No fucking way. This is why? Why make it then? There's just like. And wait, is this part after this? Like, is this part after it? This area here that is like slightly grayed out. Is this accessible or not? Just this area here. Because that's just like the same thing they pulled in Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, Oh, the upper city is in another castle.
Total of 4 interactive objects. The drinking pots. You drink water to replenish HP. That's it. There is nothing else. You can't even talk to the merchants. My theory is that Smuta was designed in this very specific way to get past the government auditor. When Gorislavsky sends someone to check on what is that exactly they are doing with the Institute money, the devs will show them the beautiful locations, the 2D art, the work of professional voice actors. And not knowing any RPG theory, the auditor will be satisfied. Truly is beautiful.
When the motherfuckers doesn't play the game and they're the test. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. In no other field, in no other what do you call it? Occupation or any other way of working in an environment when you have to test anything. No one is incompetent as some of the game testers. People who should be probably like give criticism and try every bit of the game. They don't care about the details. It's not an RPG. In half of the fucking city they made so beautifully and magnificently so interactable garbage. I wonder that's why probably is they just so run so well, because well there's no interactable object. An interactable object add loads to
for the medium of RPG, we keep inventing new ideas. In this case, a new way of appropriating government funds.
So good
Only
looking.
a small part of the city is explorable. Approaching the gate teleports us to the main square, where we get to listen to a political speech.
Люди русские!
It sounds like the actor was recording in a room with bad acoustics. Yuri clearly sympathizes with the rebels, but at this stage he is still loyal to the Polish prince.
Вся кровь наша!
What does he say, please tell me?
The Novgorod content
Jesus,
is a series of some of the most boring fetch quests I've ever experienced in my life. Talk to a person, run somewhere, talk to another person. The terribleness of this game's writing is interesting. 9 times out of 10, the problem of bad RPG writing is the problem of bloat. A writer uses 40 words to tell a 20-word story.
Genshin
But what we
Impact
have
fucking
here
syndrome.
is that the individual lines are succinct, but the characters take forever to get to the point. And
I hate that. I fucking hate that in every game. That basically means nothing. The only time a bloat is actually acceptable if it's understood within the game. For example, some dumbass wants to give a speech and they keep prolonging their speech because some other mission is going on behind you as a spy mission or something. That makes sense because the bloat is connected to the plot and it's understood by the characters within the game. Oh, the speech is taking too long. Someone's look at the watch. But when you just fucking don't shut the fuck up with your character, the player doesn't understand it, because if someone is like that in real life, you slap the shit out of him. Like, shut the fuck up. I know I'm already going to do it. Why don't you shut the fuck up? But yes. If your game doesn't have a skip button for some of the dialogue, I'm not gonna play it usually. It's just so much difficult, so much more hard. HSR is not that like that way, but so many other games that are good and came out have it. Like, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 has it. Almost all Bethesda games had it.
After they do, they just don't stop talking. I imagine this was done to imitate the style of the book, and it didn't work. You can read text much faster than a voice actor can speak. According to an interview, the developers intentionally made the clothing more vibrant than it was historically. An artistic choice, so that the game is more visually interesting.
Главное, чтобы они хоть чутка по-нашему понимали.
Because
Here is a politically controversial quest. The rebel army employs...
To be fucking honest, they had a point. Every time you see Russia in like an American movie, it's usually just colorless. It's like, oh, it's colorless. It's like every country has like a filter in American cinema. It's like Mexico's like weird. What the fuck is that? Dusk, always dusk is something between golden hour and just industrial like dust. I don't know. What the fuck is this filter?
Here is a politically controversial quest. The
This is
rebel
actually
army
beautiful.
employs foreign mercenaries as engineers and cannoneers, but some of these foreigners are disrespectful towards the locals, and frankly, they should be taught a lesson. But we don't want to seem inhospitable, so we need to provoke them into attacking us first.
А вот правду говорят, что...
I've always wanted to ask,
What
is
is
that
it?
true that your women are not actually women, but men dressed in women's clothing?
Что?
What the
Говорят.
fuck?
And then they say that when no one is looking, one of you bends over in front of the other, like a woman.
Ах ты грязь!
You are dirt. I'll make you a woman.
Помогли
Oh
тебе,
my
парни
God.
срамные?
Perhaps I'm being unreasonably charitable, but I can't tell if the game is making fun of traditional values or promoting them. This
What the
Nobel
fuck is that
Prize winning
supposed to mean,
publication seems to imply it's the latter. But then, in the very next mission, our protagonist is shown to be absolutely
maybe it was a
pussy
trans
whipped
joke,
by a
but I
very
didn't get it.
liberated-looking Polish woman. Help me read the
Oh,
themes
nice.
on display. An interesting side
Oh,
note,
Polish.
my colleague, a fellow
Oh, be
patriot
careful.
and voyeur Big Floppa Z, recently published a peer-reviewed paper
What?
display. An interesting side note, my colleague, a fellow patriot and voyeur Big Floppa Z, recently published a peer-reviewed paper, and it seems, based on the accounts of foreign travelers, homosexuality was near ubiquitous among all social classes in Muscovy. The implications of this are staggering.
know that.
The Anglo-Saxons have been homosexing Russians for centuries. In the next
the
area,
fuck?
I was struck by a realization that
That's-
all dialogue
well, I mean,
in this
that's-
game
that
is
couldn't be
redundant. Smuta is extremely quest compass dominant.
going
It
on
doesn't
here?
actually matter what the characters say.
Oh my
You just follow
God,
the
your
compass,
eyebrows.
get to a location, fight bad guys, or click on an object. After doing this for about 2 hours, we get to meet Prince Pozharsky, a Russian national hero, one of the more famous ones. Pozharsky is in every history book. A little later, in the rebel war camp,
That's cool.
Yuri has a conversation with
That's awesome. So we can actually learn more about them, more about these characters.
A little later in the
That
rebel
is all
war
real,
camp, Yuri has a
somehow.
conversation with Kuzma Minin, another important historical figure.
I wish I could play
Minin
this
and
and learn.
Pozharsky are the Russian
Everything's
Chip and
Russian
Dale
again.
of the Troubles.
Bro, just release it on this. Release it as a. People are gonna translate it and make mods for it. Like
Minin
just
and
localization
Pozharsky are the
translation.
Russian
Is so easy
Chip
to
and
do.
Dale of
Not
the
that
Troubles.
easy to do. To be fair, oh my God, there's just Russian. Holy shit, there are Russian voice actors. So yeah, you need. Oh my, that's impossible.
Minin and Pozharsky are the Russian Chip and Dale of the Troubles.
You need to hire a cast of voice actors for English.
We can't customize our appearance in
makes sense.
Smuta, but we can change our character class, which in this game is
Oh!
called Image. This can be done almost at any time in these field tents. Different classes wear different clothing and use different weapons. We have just unlocked the Strelets image.
Oh.
The Streltsi are Muscovite firearm infantry, armed with a rifle type of a weapon and a bardish. They
Very
also
cool
served as
rifle.
cops and firemen.
That's very cool. I love that.
Hanged Man's Tree. This game wants to be Witcher 3 so bad. That's what you'd say if you're an ignorant Russophober. A loading screen helpfully tells us that
What is a Russophobe? Oh my God, I'm not Russophobe. I really love Russia, and at the same time, I wish Russia wouldn't attack Ukraine. You know, because right now is just that's an illegal war, and it should have never happened. So yes, Putin is an asshole. But at the same time, understand that the land is beautiful, the land is big, it's filled with culture, as it is with almost every land now over there. Jesus, it's like this area of Asia is just filled with so much culture. It's just like in insane amount, you know. It's just so much history. So I wish more people made more games about Egypt, like the Russian areas, more Slavic areas, Ukraine areas, more. Europe is like quite young, but at the same time, I haven't seen so much good shit from my own country, Persia, or some stuff from India or the Arab areas. There's just so much good shit, so much crazy shit we could make.
trees with hanging
It's just
people
so
were
much-
not
everyone's
uncommon.
focusing
And
on
in
Europe
fact,
and
they
USA.
predate Christmas trees. Another feature stolen by the Polish CD Projekt Red was the Yuri Vision,
Projekt.
which in their game is called Witcher Vision. It's not used often in this. The levels are huge, but since they are more or less free of interactive objects,
you
there
fat
is little
fuck.
reason to explore them. But the game is capable of creating unintentional Oblivion-esque comedy. The woman is talking in generic barks, the convulsing man is complaining about the poles, and the cow is just mooing. So, how good is the stealth system? It's okay. This is the closest thing this game has to engaging gameplay. The enemies seem to respect the shadow, and there is a
Way
generous
too much,
delay in
seems
their
like it.
reactions. Boyar
Whoa.
from Uyar.
Shit, dude! Oh my god, this guy's insane.
So there are boss fights. I have no idea what the point of this is supposed to be. He is stun locked just as easily as everyone else. You have to click him like 6 extra times. That's the difference between a boss
Oh my
and a normal
god,
enemy.
what the fuck was that boss fight?
Finally, after hours of fetch questing, Yuri returns to his home village to report to the
Jesus.
Boyar Kruchina. Same location, different season.
I love this
Obviously,
name,
Smuta is not a
Kruchina.
good product.
What does that
but
mean?
it is a good idea, you know. Video games can be great cultural ambassadors, and they have a proven history of positive cultural
Yes.
change. Here is a story for you. Back in the early 2000s, a buddy of mine from Magnitogorsk was working on an early indie CRPG project called Wasteland Wolf.
No.
But when they tried introducing their game to a foreign audience, on the Black Isle official forums no less, they very quickly encountered a problem. The problem's name was Adolf Hitler. Back then,
What?
the Anglophone online culture was dominated by Gen Xers and older millennials. For many of these individuals,
Jesus Christ.
Wasteland Wolf was a first contact situation. They have never seen a cultural product from this part of the world before. The idea of a Fallout-like RPG originating from the ex-USSR space was wild, unnatural. They
Yeah.
didn't know how to process it, no frame of reference. This created conflict. Posting conflict, the worst kind.
How
Well,
is
I've
this
been
related
told
to
that
Adolf
Russians
Hitler?
defeated Hitler, have they not? Perhaps we should ask them for advice. Russian discourse used to be very different from Western because it wasn't about the
They
right
did, to be
versus
honest,
the
they
left.
did. They did. And at the same time, the Allies and US were fighting Japan too. So they just, that's why it was a world war. It's just so big and so absurdly fucking deadly that, yes, the sacrifices back then were not in vain. Hitler was a very fucked up individual, and thank God he offed himself. But at the same time, yeah, World War II happened, and it was brutal. So many people died. So many people died. Just absurd amount.
Because it wasn't about the
God.
right versus the left. Instead, it was about the cops versus the dorks. The cop
Oh,
faction
Jesus.
had all the power, but the dork faction had all the brains. You will never defeat our ideas, piggy. Unfortunately, the ideas in question were reverse tankyism and
God.
veteran privilege, which is a notion that society pays way too much attention to World
Yes.
War II vets. Needless to say, for our purposes, none of this was helpful or in any way material. The Hitler problem existed because of the lack of exposure. And exposure, through the medium of video games, is what ended up solving it. The Ukrainian Stalker was published in
Oh, yes.
2007. It was followed by Metro 20.
That's my favorite. I never played the Stalker, but I always wanted to get into it. But the Stalker that came recently, I probably will get into that with. Metro 2033 was a nightmare. But a very good welcome nightmare. I didn't know anything about the series, and the environment, the atmosphere and everything was just chef's kiss, bro. Chef's kiss. Awesome novel, and
developed by a
awesome book,
different
at the same
Ukrainian
time
studio,
awesome game
published in
series.
2010. That game was based on a book by the Russian
Yes,
author Dmitry
Dmitry.
Gluchovsky. I can only speak for myself and for the communities I was active in, but for me, there was a world before Stalker
It's
and the
fucking
world
awesome.
after. This is how we stopped being
Stalker.
foreign, and how
Lovely.
Adolf Hitler was banished back to Avernus.
But how?
But for me, I can
Is
only...
this a
but for
Stalker? How is it gonna have a scary moments if it's like because okay, never mind. It's probably just I have to play it.
me,
I have to
there
play
was a
it.
world before Stalker and the world after.
Okay, we have
This is how
automatic
we stopped
weapons
being
and-
foreign, and how Adolf Hitler was banished back to Avernus.
Юрий приехал в...
In the next chapter, we'll travel to the town of
God.
Yaroslavl
Fuck
and
that
deal
dude.
with the internal conflicts in the rebel army. And by deal, I mean instigate.
Помни, какая сила за мной.
Ivan
And whoever
Zarutsky.
follow Hitler and whoever follow his suit, right? Fuck Hitler and whoever follows his suit, even
Помни,
nowadays.
какая сила за mной.
Ivan Zarutsky is another important historical figure, a leader of the Don Cossacks. Previously, he served false Dmitry II, the impostor on the throne.
Не доводи до греха, Иван.
Pozharsky wants to
What?
convince him to join us, but it doesn't look like it's working out.
This
Let's try
Russian,
out
bro,
a
I
new
don't know what
class.
has
This
happened.
is the courtier image. This version of Yuri
What does he
wields
do?
expensive-looking weapons that have very short range. Later I learned that the courtier class is supposed to be a reward for finishing the story, but in my Uyar Patriot edition it was pre-unlocked. The biggest problem
Oh,
in
never mind
Yaroslavl
then.
are our Tatar allies,
Maybe they didn't know
who
how
are
to
a little
script it
too
into the
powerful and
story.
independent. Yuri helps the Tatars in one mission and then stabs them in the back in the next. Vampire Bloodlines fans might be pleased to know
Like, this
that
is- oh
Smuta
my
also
God.
has that bug where
But sometimes when you got off the bug, you put your backside slightly off because you don't know, man. You can see the behind of you.
clothing
And
gets stuck in your character's ass. This really made me feel at home.
It's actually true. It's so much more natural when someone's fucking piece of clothing is stuck in their pants. It makes
The main
sense.
quest wants us to work with Zarutsky in order to undermine the rebels. The protagonist is incapable of
Zarutsky,
saying no.
Jesus.
Suck my dick, Pozharsky, Vladislav
Is every
Liberate.
fucking Russian name in this game?
As a reward,
What's up with
Zarutsky
ski?
unlocks the mercenary image, a Western European warrior type, armed with a musket and a halberd.
What does he mean? actually?
Yuri says a few words in German to make this feel authentic. Halberd has extra range over a bardish.
Fuck.
After
Oh my
taking out
God.
a small army of Russia,
I love that. It's like we don't even need to look at it, and it's probably
After taking
very,
out
it
a
smells
small
very
army
bad.
of Russians, Yuri suddenly decides he hates murdering people for Zarutsky and threatens to kill the Ataman the next time they meet. I have no
Ataman?
idea what Yuri truly believes in. This man is a psychopath.
Oh.
If you are trying to be a secret agent, you should probably dress to fit in with the locals. You know what? I should take my own
shit.
advice. Irena,
Roman
if this is her
separate.
real name, it isn't, sends us on a sneaking mission
sense.
to a war camp we've already cleared for
spy.
Zarutsky.
Или ты с девицами?
Are you always this quick with women? After insulting our manhood, she makes us visit the same camp for the third time. This game is mocking me.
It probably is. At this point, it is.
The traveling theme is quite good in this. Marina Mniszek was a Polish noblewoman, and
Oh,
until
Polish.
recently,
Never
the
mind.
Queen of Russia, having
Polish
married
spy.
false Dmitry I, and then when he was killed, she remarried false Dmitry II. Her ambition is to convert Russia to Catholicism. Previously, the game showed us the Muscovite nationalist point of view, and now we
I
are being
don't like, as long as it's separated from the state to some degree, because maybe if we inject religion into a government and make it the base of the government, and you have so many examples literally in Middle East of that happening, and we don't need that. Keep Catholicism outside of the government and the state, but people can follow it, and people can follow what religion they want. As long as it's not crazy, bro. Can we stop some religions? Like some nasty ones? Like, if a religion just outright is anti-other religions and anti-humanity, maybe we should just, stop it. And maybe don't make it like as open. Or some lame-ass ones. What the fuck are those people who don't use technology? And it piss me off, bro. Piss me off, right? It's like, what? Get your hat off and start using electricity, you little outdated piece of shit. What do you call them? What do you call them? I forgot. I
Her
really didn't
ambition
forgot.
is to convert Russia to Catholicism. Previously, the game showed us the Muscovite nationalist point of view, and now we are being introduced to the Catholic opposition.
Oh. Galloping
Smuta
animals.
defenders claim that the game's
animation looks
critics
decent.
exaggerate its supposed mechanical
Never mind.
simplicity. Upon further examination, there are actually all kinds of advanced mechanics, like you can throw rocks to distract bad guys.
Bro, that's the same. This is not even a grenade. Oh my god, it was supposed to be making a grenade. Oh my god, wait a second. That reminds me when you in the new Hitman games, you just wanted to, when you throw a banana and just the dude right looks at you the moment you throw it and it's just a banana to the face. You want to distract him and knock him out. This is so stupid. I love it.
Again.
Когда князь Пожарский...
Alas, a tragedy strikes. Yuri's closest friend was killed during an assassination attempt on Pozharsky. We can't keep working for both factions. Pozharsky
That's
himself
what
comes
happens
to
in
our
assassination
tent.
when you
He
do
knows
that.
everything, but Yuri is clearly too stupid to be held accountable for his actions. The rebel leaders send us on a quest to find a local holy man to get him to bless the war effort. I think they just want to get rid of us.
Наконец-то...
The elder lives in the depths of an ancient forest where no man has gone before. That's what the loading screen says. Clearly not true, since
Can
there
you
are
see the-
Poles here.
Never
Мы
mind.
из отряда пана Маскевича.
They
Poles
say
probably
they're
had
on their
some,
way to rendezvous
like,
with the
crazy
army of
powers in
King
that area.
Sigismund near Smolensk. But that
Sigismund!
was 3
Пана Маскевича.
They say they're on their way to rendezvous with the army of King Sigismund near
Bro, Sigismund was in Kingdom Deliverance 2. Finally, some connection. Finally. To be honest, there was a German dude. No. Doge. There was Doge dude in that game too who was shit talking the king and shit. And but basically, if you, it's like if you're living inside a country and then you shit talk the current king and talk about your enemy's king in praise. What the fuck are you think is gonna happen? People are gonna shut your house or kill you. In worst case scenarios. Yeah, so a good Deutsch, please be chill.
Smolensk. But that was 3 years ago. Thinking about retiring from politics and war and just buying property here in the forest. We'll be needing a lot of vitamin D supplements though.
Probably. To be fair, melanin is not that high, so we're gonna get it
Oh my
so
God,
fast.
Smuta
But
is
skin
getting
cancer is a
good.
problem.
Неужто самого себя не признал?
This is the alternative future Yuri, who speaks with a slight
What the
accent
fuck is
and
the
is
Ice Walker
Catholic. The two Yuris debate politics, and the Demon Knight actually makes some material arguments. He says that all Muscovites, even the boyars, are ultimately slaves to the Tsar. In comparison, the Polish Szlachta have a lot more rights. There is a fun third dimension to this conversation. We are from the future for real. We know what will happen to the ideas of
Yes.
Minin and Pozharsky in 400 years. Indeed, they have evolved into something else. Those of you who are online, that is most of you, might be familiar
Hotep,
with
Jesus,
Indeed,
what?
they have evolved into something else. Those of
In Joe Rogan podcast, Hotep Jesus October board Brandon Sharp is an African American media personality and the leader of Hotep movement. He was known for his fringe conspiracy theories which claim to honestly common sense. Well, that's about all of them say. They assume they're real because it's so simply explained to them, or their crazy mentality that they basically claim it's common sense. That the Atlantic slave trade was a myth and was financially unfeasible. That originally Native Americans. What? The frame getting. I mean, there's so many documented stuff about ships that have been found with bodies of slaves that were British were traversing about, and the documentations about literally contracts of these guys being bought from Africa and being stolen. So yes, I'm pretty sure you're off your head, mate.
you who are online, that is most of you, might be familiar with an Afrocentrist ideology called Hotepism. It's about seeing ancient Egypt as a source of black pride. What you didn't know is that the Muscovites have been cooking their own versions of Hotepism for decades now.
That's dope as fuck, dude. That's like, oh my god, Egyptian Rambo. They know it needs a bit of work, but it's
The most popular of
cool as
them is
fuck.
the Hotep of Communism, which is about Russians rewriting history to attribute all Soviet accomplishments to themselves. We Russians defeated Hitler, which
Well,
is true,
it's kind
but
of.
you know, the Ukrainian and Belarusian per capita contributions were even higher. We
Yes.
Russians are the pioneers of space exploration.
You were the ones that reached the space.
Also
first.
true, even though the lead Soviet spacecraft engineer was from Zhytomyr. You get the idea.
Oh.
Among millennials
Oh,
and Gen
shit.
Xers,
Oh.
there is another popular Hotep, the Hotep of crackers. Imagine that you were born
It's for
during
both.
the last years of the Iron Curtain. The Soviet lifestyle is discredited.
No, it's for both. Stop making it one or other. One country shouldn't be just. It's for both. Ukraine because the person who went, the top engineer was Ukrainian, and Russia because they made a platform and they used so many scientists to create this project. So yes,
It
both.
was from Zhytomyr. You get the idea. Among millennials and Gen Xers, there is another popular Hotep, the Hotep of crackers. Imagine that you were
What?
born during the last
Americans?
years of the Iron Curtain. The Soviet lifestyle is discredited. Young people are eager to return to the European family. The problem is that very few of them have actually met.
Why are you having La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah behind you, man? What? That's so fucked. It's so fucked up that line, which is basically a standard line is Islam after Allah, it's been used by terrorist groups. And people, when people see that, they just assume it's related to terrorism. That's basically is a common line in Islam. Basically means there is no God and there is no other. Muhammad was the prophet. I can't translate it because it's behind the dude, but it's basically the same. He says, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. There's no other prophet of the God other than Muhammad? I don't know,
A
man.
Westerner before.
I
So their
forgot.
idea of
It's been a
Europeans
while.
was based on what they read in Soviet textbooks and what they absorbed through pop
This
culture.
dude.
Russians who subscribe to this ideology see world politics as Vampire the Masquerade IRL. The world is ruled by ancient European families,
Oh
with
my
the English
God.
royal family being the most powerful of them. The funny thing
Basically,
about this brand of
conspiracy theorists.
Hotepism is that these individuals sometimes take liberal or progressive positions, but not because they believe in egalitarianism, but rather because they see it as a way of communicating their Europeanness. And of course, there are Muscovite conservative philosophers, such as Yegor fucked his daughter, showcasing the national costume. Now, what is Yegor famous for? Actually, it's kind of hard to tell. He believes that in the ancient past, people lived for 900 years. His philosophical system
Like
can be
Noah.
described as a bootleg version of Plato's theory of forms.
Okay, the only motherfucker who lived on 900 years was Noah. And that's because he didn't. It's a scam.
His philosophical system can be described as a bootleg version of Plato's theory of forms. The idea of Russianness was sent to us by God, and questioning this is a Westoid behavior and possibly Russophobia as well. We must
None of
construct additional Russia todays.
Probably
Fucked
his
his
one
daughter
was.
labored on these ideas for 3 decades. He is working with a production crew allegedly paid for by the very same Internet
What
Development
the fuck?
Institute. And somehow, despite all that, his
It's all
YouTube
connected.
views are in the hundreds.
What? Why is our leader Khamenei over there? Or Putin? That's the Chinese one, Xi Jinping or something. Or is that an Indian or Pakistani? I don't know.
Sometimes low thousands. You thought Smuta was a waste of taxpayers' money. Yuri, you could have prevented this. We have failed. We will find another way. Releasing control.
Oh shit!
Enjoy being a
Now, do we have all
stinky
those-
old man
Uh-oh.
forever.
So,
The rebel army is about to march on Moscow, but
But
we
we did
have
get the
unfinished business
impurities and
elsewhere. Boyar
weird
Kruchina,
ideas.
our foster father, the schemer.
Гляжу, все никак мимо проходить не научишься.
Yuri is reunited with his friend, the
Aw,
Free
he's
Cossack
happy,
Kirsha,
happy.
the most Zaporizhian man to ever exist. Kirsha speaks with a very authentic Ukrainian accent. Our protagonist intends to solve the Kruchina
That's cool.
problem by convincing the man to work with Pozharsky instead of the Poles. But the boyar makes convincing counter-arguments. The rebellion is a terrible idea. Things need to return to normal as soon as possible. The peasants didn't stockpile enough food. There is a risk of famine. And who will stop the Swedes when they invade again? And how
What?
are they planning on electing the new Tsar anyway? The boyars will be at each other's throats. Yuri will have
And
plenty
he's
of time
still in
to
a
come up
fucking
with
bathroom,
answers to
seems
these
like it. The dude's voice was, when I hear that, even when the actual the actual YouTuber is talking, I can hear that dude's voice in a fucking very
Yuri
bad
will have plenty
ecosystem.
of time to come up with answers to these questions. No, Anastasia, don't give him the key to
Oh
the
shit,
jail
the Polish
cell.
spy.
You will regret this.
Только чего?
This scene made me like Kruchina a lot more. His plan to tear apart the rebel army involves forging correspondence, and it's very clever. Yuri
sense.
flees to the
That-
forest
so
and
good,
eventually
the writing
finds
is good to some
Kirsha's
degree.
hidden encampment. This is how we unlock the final image. Ashish is a Troubles-era peasant freedom fighter. This class has the most exotic weapon selection. We get a hand axe instead of a sword and a throwing axe instead of a pistol. The
That's
latter seems
cool.
to have a shorter cooldown. The
Oh
axes
my
have extra
God.
brutal fatality animations. He is dead, Yuri. The horse
yes.
is summoned by pressing your
That's
key, and it's very useful for navigating the huge empty maps. There is no by pressing your
Come
key,
on,
and it's
dude.
very useful.
All you had to do is
for-
just cut the fucking whatever. What is there? There is no mesh there. There's no proxy mesh there. There is no need for anything to be there. What is
Navigating
there that
the
is
huge
stopping you,
empty
man?
maps.
Jesus
there is no
Christ,
mounted
this engine
combat.
is so
If
good.
you're engaged,
That
it
sucks.
just drops
Seems like it
Yuri
at
on the
physics.
ground and runs away.
Oh.
The big idea for this chapter is
Fight
building
with
up
me, Roach.
Kirsha's Shish militia force so that we can eventually strike at Boyar Kruchina's little Kremlin.
Чего надо? Шел отсюда!
Some
So-
Polish publications wrote about the game, voicing concerns
Oh,
about
they have a hostage.
anti-Polonism. Having played this to completion, I don't think there is anything to worry about. The Polish
Come on, save
NPCs
it.
are very articulate, they are not portrayed as stupid, they are not caricatures, and for what it's worth, their costumes are some of the best looking in the game. And there is a fun scene where Yuri educates Kirsha, dispelling his ignorant beliefs. No, you silly, the Poles don't actually have dog heads. In fact, for a state-funded
Makes
project, this story is
That seems like just
interestingly
pure propaganda.
open-minded.
But to
There
be
have
fair,
been
they do that
one,
weird
two,
shit too.
3 instances.
They say they used to say something actually about Europeans and like Americans too here, but it's nowadays it's just fairly gone, especially after the introduction of internet. Everyone knows everything about everyone, and all those weird phobias usually gone, unless, to be fair, some Americans don't read about some of these. Like, read about us and our culture so you can understand it and stop being such an fool. So yeah, some Americans they do weird shit. Like, you have all the knowledge and you don't use it, and then you come and talk about it as you know it. Like, no.
There have been 1, 2,
That's stupid. Don't do
3
that.
instances when the game debated the Muscovite ideas, and Yuri didn't seem to have much to say in their defense. That's strangely progressive. Suspiciously so. After the assassination of Oleg Bilibin at the Government
Wait.
Sergeya
Okay, thank God, because I assumed it started over.
Vertushkina,
Because he's
the
assumed the
ownership
assassination
of
of
the
this dude.
UR-based studio was transferred to Alexei Koptsev.
Uh-oh.
Who is Mr. Koptsev? Nobody knows. His not Facebook page has posts of liberal, anti-Putin, and Nazi-adjacent nature. What?
Who the
The
fuck?
final event of the chapter is the Shish attack on the Kruchina's compound.
Oh,
the
shit.
attack happens entirely within a cutscene. The gameplay bit is another sneaking mission that doesn't even seem to feature any enemies. Alas, the princess is in another castle. The cutscenes in the game are honestly well directed and strangely artistic.
Ну что,
I think Yuri was supposed to say a badass one-liner, but the audio bugged out.
спи-
The dramatic final battle has us facing 3 sequential groups
Probably
of
ran out of
basic
budget.
enemies. Very creative, Mr. Koptsev.
Very.
Onwards to the penultimate
Almost.
chapter,
It's
the
like-
Moscow
No.
outskirts, the gathering of rebel armies.
Why make it such a good looking game and don't make it a masterpiece? Why not just go all in?
Onwards to the
Come
penultimate
on.
chapter.
Even the devs
Moscow
had to just be
outskirts,
disappointed
the gathering
somehow
of rebel
that they couldn't
armies.
just go all in.
Kirsha finally gets to meet Pozharsky, and he is absolutely in love with the man. Kirsha is such a Runat and a Maloros. In the
it's
previous
just-
2 chapters,
This mustache is
the gathering of rebel armies. Kirsha finally gets to meet Pozharsky, and he is absolutely in love with the man.
I'm pretty sure there are like bunch of Iranians that look exactly like that. Even with that weird ass mustache, that handlebar mustache, that dude looks so awesome. And he's actually growing on up to me.
Kirsha is such a
With that
Runat
mustache?
and a Maloros.
I love it.
In the previous 2 chapters, the game came dangerously
Prince
close to being
Ko-
fun,
Jawad.
so now we are back to endless,
Jawad.
boring fetch questing. Someone is trying to destroy the rebel army from the inside.
Don't get
This
us up.
Santa Claus-looking motherfucker is our primary suspect. Yuri's job is to find proofs of his misdeeds, and naturally we do this by beating people up. People like the Alpha Cossack here. I don't get this combat system. Maybe it's because the courtier is an overpowered class, but as you can see, the Cossack never even exited the staggered
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, the stagger
This
seems to be
location
way
is called
harder.
Gulag.
Like it seems to be it's like it keeps stacking 2 at the same time. It should be that enemy kind of does like a retaliation or almost like it at least harder enemies. Like this motherfucker is supposed to be a boss, right? To do some like irregular behavior. You maybe like create 7 irregular behaviors, like a move like this, like throwing you backward, picking you up and then holding you backwards. Do weird shit like that, and then put them on randomizer after getting a stagger hit. So make the boss actually more interesting.
This location is called Gulai Gorod, which is an East Slavic term for a mobile fortification made up of carts and boards. These were used with great success against steppe nomads. After enduring 2 hours of some of the most mind-numbingly boring gameplay invented by human civilization, we discover that Santa is innocent. The real spy is hanged.
Дело, которому служишь.
If you betray your country, your cause, your friends, what's the point of begging for mercy? Yeah, that's what we do with fascist Russophobes. Speaking of, this is a report published
To
by
be
the
fair, you
Medialogia
need to
project,
not
a
be able to
Russian
do that
automated
anymore.
media monitoring
Killing is a
system.
problem.
A week from the release of the game, the project monitored 240,000 social network posts about Smuta. 14,000 of them were positive, 87,000 were negative, and the rest neutral. Negative posts included words like fiasco, failure, trash, garbage, cringe, undercooked, boring, drawn out, inexpressive.
Some of those make sense.
The Medialogia analysts concluded that the comments must have been written using a template. Thus, we can confidently say that the project is being subjected to a large-scale attack. Attacked by whom? The 72nd Center of Information and Psychological
There are
Operations
supposedly
of the
some bots, but
Ukrainian Navy
I doubt
is
it.
determined to be responsible for flooding social media with mean comments, mobilizing
Not just
military
them,
assets
so
for
many other countries
RPG
do the same.
criticism. Truly, RPGs are the highest form of art. But it is concerning. First Bilibin, now this. Indeed, dark clouds are gathering over the motherland.
I love this too.
But it is
What
concerning.
on
First
his
Bilibin,
t-shirt?
now this. Indeed.
Oh my god. Porge. Is that Lenin? Yes. Oh my fucking
Dark
god.
clouds are
He
gathering
looks
over the
cool as
motherland.
fuck, dude. I need one of those
The
t-shirts.
poles on the other side of the river have cannons. Well, how do we solve this problem? By following
What?
the quest compass and clicking on objects.
Он не пойдет. Заколем.
Don't stop him!
The Poles are drafting peasants to work on their fortifications. Yuri automatically changes his image to a shish so that he can blend in with the locals. That's how we get inside the cannon base.
That makes sense.
and
This guy is
set
always
their
works.
gunpowder on fire.
Oh,
Go! No, we still have an hour of fetch questing ahead of us.
Bro, especially in a like encampment like this, or at least an era like this, when There was no internet. There was no cameras. People couldn't take a picture of you and like know that it is a disguise. No. No one knows how to Europe.
Now, we still have an hour of fetch questing ahead of us. The chapter villain is our old frenemy Ivan Zarutsky, the ataman of the Don host.
Oh my god, you did so much
You
damage
have
now.
betrayed the motherland. Yuri interrogates a Cossack
Prepare to
traitor.
die.
And this guy is like, Sir, I'm from Poland.
Встань, Иван, царю.
If Ivan were to become Tsar, he would make everyone free, he says. Zarutsky is drunk,
the
and
fuck?
frankly, it doesn't look like he's in charge of anything. Oh, damn it!
God damn. Uh-oh. A duel?
Imagine if Kojima made a game like this.
И весь
He
ваш
would have looked
боярский
absurd
сброд.
being
Both
crazy.
of you are
There would be
fools.
so much more walking. And then it would have like a weird message, and then some weird alien shit would appear to it. There would be psychology.
Imagine if Kojima made a game like this.
As long as she doesn't drop her glove, it's gonna
Both
be
of
okay.
you are fools, as is the rest of the boyar trash. Marina believes that a woman should be in charge of Russia because
queen?
women are better at handling court intrigue. I don't think this is evidence-based.
None of
She's
this
not
is
scheming on
evidence-based.
behalf of the Polish-Lithuanian
Oh.
Commonwealth. She is in this for herself and God.
Well.
What's funny is that Yuri still doesn't know her real name.
Irena.
Irena, or whoever you are, freedom is your punishment.
Oh my god. Freedom is your punishment.
Еще пожалеешь, что не убил меня.
You will regret not killing me, Boyar Miroslavsky.
Then kill
Marina
her.
will regret it a lot more, in fact. It's a very dark story.
Войско князя Пожарского
Welcome to the end game. The rebel army surrounded the Poles in Moscow.
Uh-oh, what
An
happened
urban
for-
level, finally. The White Stone Fortress is not the same Kremlin that exists today. This is its
shit.
previous incarnation. The besieged Poles are trying to break through, but our biggest enemy is the frame rate. Despite there
As
being
always,
a war and
in
a
some of
siege
these
and,
big city
bodies
games.
hanging from
Oh my
lampposts, parts of the city still manage to function normally. This Cossack is a Charakternik, which is a type of a Cossack sorcerer, healer, and teacher. In some ways, a Zaporizhian version of Asian martial arts
Hakeem
master.
person,
Charakterniks can catch bullets with their hands and throw them
Why
back
Asian?
at their enemies. They place
because-
sorcerers
okay,
and
oh my
enchantments
God,
on their
Russia.
guns. They
Makes
walk
sense.
on water and fire, turn invisible. They can see the
Walk on
future
water?
and control the weather. In the game, this is possibly the only opponent who dual wields weapons.
Ну, чертяки языкастые.
Our protagonist teams up with insane clown posse to
Oh
rob
my
a
god,
rich
that
man's
looked like
house.
a goat for a
How
second,
does this
Jesus.
help us defeat the Poles?
Because the hat had eyes and the
Poles?
horns.
Yuri, you moron! You were supposed to destroy the Russians, not join them. But from my point of view, it's the Catholics who are evil. A strong opening from
Your point of view
Kruchina
doesn't
with a kick
matter
in
to
the
you.
balls. He can summon whole of allies. That's new. But ultimately, the combat
Hipnaha.
system is incapable of challenging the player.
still
Kruchina is
the
stun-locked and defeated just as easily
Every
as the
enemy
very
literally is
first
killed like
opponent
that. What
in
the
the
fuck
game.
is the combat difficulty then, man?
The nuclear apocalypse color filter is nature's way of telling us
Mexico.
that the final battle is about to begin.
Yes.
It involves Yuri navigating open-air corridors and fighting groups of 4 enemies. But somehow the Poles are winning.
Глухие немы.
And when all hope is lost, Kirsha the Cossack arrives with reinforcements. A brotherly people's moment.
Uh-oh. Fuck yes, let's go!
Лихвость ясна холера.
This was Smuta,
What?
or Troubles, a state-funded video game. 20 hours of filler, 20 minutes of fun cutscenes. Is this political propaganda? Virtually everyone in the story has better politics than Yuri and his rebel friends. Zarutsky the Cossack promised to make everyone free. Kruchina wanted to keep people from starving. The Demon Knight didn't want to be a slave. The only truly smart character is a Polish noblewoman. Well, no, maybe not the only one. When we meet her in Moscow, Anastasia says that
is.
she will mastermind her own escape, and that we should take it easy, because the purpose of a
But to whom?
boyar's
Like
head
against
is to
what?
wear a hat. Is this traditional values? Is this game
Why-
a
why
tool
would
of
you-
government influence? Of the Polish government, maybe? Is it a corruption scheme? A scheme to redistribute government money to a bunch of graphic artists and voice actors, perhaps? Is Smuta subversive? Is it secretly
That's
clever?
awesome, though. To some degree, Jesus Christ. Did that
No.
crow just hit the screen?
25-го.
And then we have ending slides, just like in Fallout. Yuri's relationship with Nastya
sense.
eventually broke down. I probably picked the wrong dialogue option at
The
some
2D
point.
art isn't
in any
bad,
case,
but
I
it doesn't
consider this to
capture
be
the
a good
facial
outcome.
animations,
Having
the
won the
facial
power
structures
struggle,
that
the
much.
philosophers of the Cop
Oh my
faction
God.
kept inventing new types of right-wing idpol. But nothing they came up with was even remotely
Potter?
as successful as the hotep of communism. With its invention, the system of
Oh,
Muscovite
fucking Stalin.
idealism
Fuck that
was
dude.
complete. Nothing else needed to be done.
Why
Dmitry
Indian?
Gluchovsky, the author of Metro books, betrayed his dork brethren by making things people actually liked.
It
For
was
his crimes, he
brilliant.
was cancelled, exiled from Discord, and blocked on Xitter. And then there was the mysterious stranger, hiding behind a mask. Nobody knew
Is
his
that the same
true
dude who-
identity. Just
who
like
literally
everyone
shut down
else,
news
having never
station
played
right now?
Smuda, the masked patriot mistakenly believed that the game was political propaganda. But instead of opposing it, he wrote in
It doesn't
its
seem
support.
like it.
In this article, he reveals a connection between the Russian developer Oddmeter and the Polish 11-bit studio who conspired. in
Is
this
that a Russian dude with a... It's a Russian girl with a hijab. So
Article,
I
he
wouldn't mind
reveals a
seeing hijab in
connection
games.
between the Russian-
Cyberpunk did it, but at the same time, if it's happening within, you know, if it's understandable within that environment. If it's just too many, it makes you confused. It's like, what is this? Is this like a Muslim focused area like of the city? If that was like the understanding, and it was within the plot or the narrative of the game, that would make more sense. But when there is like few here and there, basically it's natural. You see that
developer Oddmeter and the Polish 11-bit studio who conspired to launch a media attack on the game.
That's-
This
it's not
is
supposed to be.
1612 all
It
over
shouldn't be
again.
mandatory at all.
Many questions remain unanswered. Who
Kick in the
ordered
butt.
the assassination of Bilibin? What truly happened at
Who
the
is
Governor
Bilibin?
Mass that fateful night?
I wanna
Who
Google
is
him.
Mr. Koptsev? Is there any truth to the rumors? Is he the long-lost great-great-great-great-great-grandson of the Polish Prince
Probably
Vladislav?
not.
Our Patreon-supported think tank will keep monitoring the situation. Patron credits, and then we'll see if it's possible to salvage this. These videos are bankrolled by the Association of Voyenkors of the Uyarian Spring,
Jesus, how
including
many
Jim
A's you
Lawrence,
got?
Arkelis,
We're
the
not
two-room
even at the
apartment
B.
in Bobruisk, Belarus, Snafu, Ganso Bomber
Oh my
Motherfucker,
God. Okay, finally we
Serpent,
reached the B.
Azazel and Baneful the Doggo, Ray Ners, Tony Spagani, Danny Kilpatrick, Eric Lutkehans, Dark Bud
Lutkehans.
Pumpkin,
Love the
Frog,
name.
Source is the best engine ever made, Billy Strayhorn, Mopo,
No, it's not. Source looks like paste. If you look at it from afar, source code is good. Source, the Valve source engine, but at the same time, no, not even remotely. It doesn't look good now. At least it used to look good.
Billy Strayhorn.
Now,
Mopo,
Unreal Engine
C6.
is far better.
I feed my parrot chicken. 1967 Ford Mustang.
Oh,
Dmitry
shit.
Yu, Ilya Rubin, Yuri Solodovnichenko, Buck Swope, and Maciej V. So, what went wrong? Elementary, dear Boris. You didn't hire an RPG theorist. Every serious corporation
sense.
employs at least one. Apple, Boeing, McDonald's. It's just basic stuff. Frankly, not employing a monocled RPG theorist is an extremely unwashed
was
Moscow
awesome.
behavior, Mr. Gorislavsky.
No, bunch of gamers who knew what they were doing. You need gamers to make a game. But at the same time, you need some original writers who probably... Need this to be distinction. At the same time, you need gamers because they know what the environment and everything's look like. But they might inject their own weird, other game, non-original shit into it. But at the same time, you need new stuff that who not into gaming that much for some of the writing and stuff like that. That usually works. When something is created by another source and the source is then formatted to work within the game's environment.
A monocle
That works.
RPG theorist is an extremely unwashed Moscow behavior.
But you
Mr.
need both of
Gorislavsky.
those
And
to
sure,
work.
our services do not come cheap, but a petrostate can probably afford it, and you'll be saving money in the long term. I don't even need to see a prototype to tell you that this dialogue style will not work for a fully voiced RPG. A theorist could have told you that this should have been a top-down game. The budget of Witcher 3 was $81 million. The budget of Pillars of Eternity was $4.4 million, and that thing was made in California. Top-down is cheap,
That
and
looks
if
awesome.
done right, it's just as pretty. Of course, these sorts of games seem to have much smaller audiences.
Not the
and
biggest fan of
presumably-
top-down, as long as it's not action or RTS. I love action RTS, but at the same time, I don't like playing an RPG because the visuals of the characters are to some degree important. In this, the visual seems alright. But at the same time, if I want to play a game like this, I would actually play it and enjoy the shit out of it. This looks awesome. But when you want to play a 3D open world, like expansive, like big, epic game, yeah, you need some 3D and you need some great.
Of course,
graphics.
these sorts of games seem to have much
This looks
smaller
awesome, to be
audiences,
honest. The
and
physics
presumably we are
awesome.
making a game for
Because I saw, if you see the chain and ball is moving here, these are not just stripes, these are actually 3D meshes and models.
Of course, these sorts of games seem to have much
But
smaller
obviously,
audiences, and
performance.
presumably we are making a game for the people, not just for enthusiasts.
The rest
So
is
this
low
is
quality.
why Smuta should have been a top-down Diablo-style
Lovely.
clicker. For our purposes,
No.
it's a perfect genre, accessible, engaging, popular. Historical theming is an excellent fit for this type of a game. You are not just
That's
clicking
true.
on monsters to make the number go up. You are clicking on monsters to make the number go up, and you are learning about history. But that's an idea for Smuta 2 Electric Boogaloo. What they should do with this game is A. Make all the assets free to use for anyone under a very flexible license. I know some Neverwinter modders who would love some of this stuff.
Yes.
And B. There is no B. Forget about this game.
I would say the game, the biggest problem of the game is, you know, the interactivity of some of the stuff and the quality check. Obviously, there needs to be quality check, not by government official, by gamers. Gamers should play it in alpha and quality check it. That usually works for some of the games of the past. The Baldur's Gate 3 did that, and look at it now. That works. And they have to listen. When you make it alpha or early access, the whole purpose of it is to make it, is to shape it into something that the players want to play. If the developer is so fucking dense that they want to change the tidbits and that they're being criticized of and they're being instructed of by the players, that's just so fucking stupid of them to do. They need to listen and adjust it. It's early access for a reason. This game should have been early access and should have been played on the Steam by so many people. It should have had localizations because I don't know what the fuck it says. So yes, localization for obviously English and some other languages that are around the area who are politically interested in like realizing the story. And obviously the voice acting and the dialogue needed some rewritten. Because based on what he said, it's just below dialogue on top of below dialogue. So yes, that's it. Thanks for watching. I don't mind games like this,
Under a very
which
flexible
are political
license.
to some degree.
I know some
but as long
Neverwinter
as it's
modders.
not hitting over the head so many times, and it's like some political argument and some political theme in the background, that makes sense. That's lovely. Like Bioshock Infinite was awesome, but it was mostly political.
Would love some of this stuff. And B, there is no B. Forget about this game. Give me money on Patreon. See you in a few weeks.
Oh, I don't have Patreon. It's over. But you got it. Congratulations. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. And join me on the member as YouTube if you want to support. But yes, thanks for watching. I'm gonna slowly check out more of this guy. I think the comprehension of the words is slightly difficult because he talks in is a slightly thicker accent than I'm used to. But yes, see you all later.